Good morning, class. Hey, please make sure that you hit the pause button and complete these warm-ups. You can do it on a scratch piece of paper because I don't know if there'll be enough room in your notebook. Do that first, and then we can check our answers together. All right, so let's go ahead and go through our warm-up real quickly here. Okay, so remember when we're doing these problems that we need to stack them according to our place values. So I can now start with my first column, and I'm going to add 9 plus 2, and I'm going to get 11. So I put the 1 spot down, and then I carry my 10 spot. So I have 2 plus 1, which is 4, and then I can carry my 3 down, and I should have 341. Number 2, okay, I see that this second digit number actually has more digits, so I'm going to place that one on the top. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to add 7,183. So I'm going to start with my ones column. 9 plus 3 is 12. Okay, 8 plus 3 plus 1 is again 12. And I have 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. 7 plus 2 is 9, and then just 1. So I have 19,322. All right, number 3, 45,000 minus 32,329. Now this one is a fairly difficult one because you have all of these zeros in a row. Okay, I cannot take 0 minus 9. If I have 0 things, I can't give you 9. So I have to borrow. Okay, but if I look at this second 0, okay, I can't borrow from 0. And I also can't borrow from this third 0. So I have to go all the way over and borrow from my 5. Okay, and then I have to work from left to right. So this 0 is going to become a 10. But I still need to borrow for that other one. So this one actually is going to become a 9. And now the next one's going to become a 10. But I still need to borrow. So that 10 is now going to become a 9. And my last 0 finally becomes a 10. Now I can go ahead and subtract. I can take 10 minus 9 and I get 1. 9 minus 2 is 7. 9 minus 3 is 6. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. And 4 minus 3 is 1. Okay, our last example, I have 212 minus 189. Okay, I'm going to borrow from my 1 and make that a 0. And my 2 is going to become a 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. I have to borrow from my 2 and make that a 1. And then make this one a 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 1 minus 1 is 0. So I get 23. Now remember, to check our subtraction, I can actually add these two right here. So if I take 189 and add 23, okay, 9 plus 3 is 2, 12. 8 plus 2 plus 1 is 11. And 1 plus 1 is 2. So I have 212. Alright, so today we're going to talk about adding and subtracting decimals. So by the end of this lesson, you should be able to add and subtract decimals. It's very similar to what we did yesterday. So if you look at your notes, you can see these steps for adding and subtracting decimals. Okay, the number 1 is very, very important. You need to make sure you line up the decimal and the place value numbers. Okay, number 2, you add in your placeholder zeros, and we'll go over a few examples like that. 3, add or subtract as usual, and 4, don't forget to bring the decimal straight down. And on the side, you can see the very first rule, again, is very important. Okay, when you adding or subtracting decimals, always make sure that you line up the decimals first. Alright, so this is the very first example on your paper. Okay, I'm going to count the number of digits that I have. So I have 1, 2, 3 here, and 1, 2, 3, 4 here. So that means I have to move 4 spaces. So on this first box, I'm going to put my 5, and then I'm going to put my 2, and then I'm going to put my 3, and I'm going to put my 1. Okay, and I'm going to put my decimal right on the corner. Okay, then I have to add my decimal for the second number, and I can see that I have a 7 to the right of my decimal, and then I have 23 to the left, and that's how you line them up. Now, here's where it's talking about place value holders. So if I want to add a 0, hey, remember I can add a 0 here, and those are still equivalent decimals. So it's going to really help you when you add and subtract if you add in these zeros as placeholders. Okay, now I can just go ahead and add and subtract like normal. If I take 5 plus 0, I get 5. Okay, 2 plus 7 is 9. 3 plus 3 is 6. And 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, now the last step is to make sure that you bring down your decimal. And I get an answer of 36 and 95 hundredths. Okay, so if I look at example number 2 on your paper, okay, I can see that this first number has 3 digits, but the second number has 4. So I'm going to act like the first number has 3 digits, or you can just put in this bottom number first. And I might do that. So I have 16, and then my decimal, and 54 hundredths. Okay, on the top I'm going to add in my decimal, and then I'm going to know that my 4 is to the right of the decimal, and then I have 25 to the left. Now, here is where it's really, really, really important that you add in that 0 as a placeholder. Okay, because if I don't add that 0 in, there's nothing there. I can't take nothing and subtract 4. Okay, my 0 has to be there. In this case, I still can't take 0 minus 4. I have to go ahead and borrow from my 4 and make that a 3. Okay, and my 0 is going to become 10. Now I can take 10 minus 4, and I get 6. Now if I move on to my second column, I have 3 minus 5. I can't do that either. Okay, so I need to go ahead and borrow from my 5 and make that a 4, and then make my 3 a 13. Now I can go ahead and take 13 minus 5, and I get 8. Okay, same thing. I can't take 4 and take away 6. So I have to borrow from my 2. That becomes a 1. My 4 becomes 14. 14 minus 6 is 8. 1 minus 1 is 0, and so I don't need to put that on there. And then I have to make sure the very last step that I carry down my decimal. So my answer to the second example is 8 and 86 hundredths. Now, you can go ahead and add 16 and 54 hundredths to make sure that we got it correct. So 6 plus 4 is 10. 5 plus 8 is 13, plus 1 more is 14. 6 plus 8 is 14, plus 1 more is 15. And then that is 25 and 40 hundredths. Remember, this 0 doesn't need to be there, so it is the same as 25 and 4 tenths. Alright, so we have 2 examples on this page. First, I have another subtraction example. Okay, I have 4 digits and 4 digits, so now I just need to make sure that they are lined up correctly. So I'm going to put my decimal in here. Okay, and I have 41 and 82 hundredths, and then 23 and 79 hundredths. So, first column, starting here. I cannot take 2 minus 9, so I have to borrow from my 8, make that a 7, and my 2 becomes 12. 12 minus 9 is 3. Okay, I can take 7 minus 7, and that would be 0. I'm going to add in my decimal. Okay, back to this column, I cannot take 1 minus 3, so I have to borrow from my 4, make that 1 less, add 10 to 1, and get 11. And now I have 11 minus 3 is 8, and 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, the next example right below it, okay, I have 4 digits and I have 3 digits, so I'm going to put my 4-digit number in first, And then I'm going to add in my 19 and 2/10, making sure I line up these decimals. They should be right on top of each other. So I see an open box, so I'm going to go ahead and put my 0 in for a placeholder. Okay, so I have 1 plus 0 is 1. 8 plus 2 is 10, so I have to drop the 0 and then carry the 1. 9 plus 5 is 14, plus 1 is 15. Drop the 5, carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. Alright, third example on the page. Now remember, if I am going too fast for you, all you have to do is hit the pause button and slow it down a little bit. You can copy along as I go. Okay, so again, I see 4 digits here and 3 digits here, so that means I am going to put in my bottom number first, and then line up my decimals, and then add in my first number. Okay, so same thing, I see an empty box, so I need to go ahead and add that 0. Okay, so if I look at this first column for subtracting, I have 0 minus 7. Okay, if I have 0 things, you cannot take 7, so I need to borrow from my friend. So I have 2 here. That 0 will now become 10. Now I can subtract 10 minus 7. Then I get 3. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, if I look at my 6 and my 8, if I have 6 things, I can't take away 8. So I have, borrow from my 3, and I get 2. And then this 6, 10 plus 6 is 16. So I have 16 minus 8 is 8. And then 2 minus 1 is 1. And then again, don't forget your decimal. Okay, last example on your paper that we're going to do together, and I have one more to show you. Okay, so I have 16 and 17 hundredths, 54 and 8/10. First step, add my 0 in, and now I'm adding, so I have 0 plus 7 is 7, 8 plus 1 is 9, 6 plus 4 is 10, 5 plus 1 plus 1 is 7. Alright, I actually added 2 examples that are not on your notes because I think that these are probably some of the hardest ones. Okay, so I have 24 and I minus 3 and 89 hundredths. Now, the hard part about this is because we say line up your decimals. Well, 24 doesn't have a decimal. So where is a decimal on the whole number? Okay, if you remember, decimals are always at the very ends of your numbers. Okay, so my decimal is at the end of 24. Then I can line up 3 and 89 hundredths, okay, and then I cannot forget to add my 2 zeros in for placeholders. Okay, so this one is like the difference between when you see $24 and $24 written this way. Okay, they're the exact same thing. They're equal to each other. So now I can go ahead and subtract. I can't take 0 minus 9, so I have to borrow. But I can't borrow from 0, so I have to go all the way over and borrow from my 4, making it a 3. And this 0 will now become 10. Hey, I still have to borrow there, so that 10 now has to become 1 less, is 9. And that 0 will become 10. So 10 minus 9 is 1. 9 minus 8 is 1. 3 minus 3 is 0. And then I just have 2 minus nothing is 2. Okay, and then I have to go and bring my decimal straight down. Okay, the second one is the same way. One of my numbers does not have a decimal. Okay, and it's my 19. So my decimal's at the end of 19, and then I add in my placeholders. Okay, 8 minus 0 is 8. 3 minus 0 is 3. And then comes my decimal. Okay, I can't take 4 minus 9, so I have to borrow from my 3. 14 minus 9 is 5. 2 minus 1 is 1. And 1 minus nothing is 1. Why don't you go ahead and hit pause now? Hey, I need you to complete the next 6 questions on your own first, and then you can come back and push play and watch for the answers to see if that you got them right or to find your mistakes. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go through these examples now. Hey, as you can see, I already went through and wrote all of my examples stacked according to my place values and decimals. So, hey, I'm going to add my zeros as placeholders here. Okay, 8 minus 0 is 8. 1 minus 0 is 1. 8 minus 6 is 2. 9 minus 8 is 1. 6 minus 2 is 4. And 2 minus nothing is 2. So that one's pretty simple. I don't have to do any borrowing. Okay, number 2, I am adding, so don't forget to add my placeholders in here. 0 plus 1 is 1. 0 plus 4 is 4. 8 plus 6 is 14, so I drop my 1. Drop my 4 and carry my 1. 8 plus 2 plus 1 is 11. 9 plus 1 is 10, plus 4 is 14. And then 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. The very end, don't forget your decimal. Number 4, I add my 0 in there. 8 plus 0 is 8. 9 plus 2 is 11. And then 6 plus 1 is 7. And then I have 1 whole. And the last one, I have 2 zeros here. So 4 minus 0 is 4. 5 minus 0 is 5. 9 minus 6 is 3. Now I can't take 0 minus 5, so I have to go all the way over here and borrow from this 1. That would be 10, but then I have to borrow again, so that's going to become 9. And this is going to become 10. So 10 minus 5 is 5, and 9 minus 2 is 7. Now that's a tricky one, so I'm going to try and check my answer real quick here. If I can get this erased. Alright, so 75 and 354 thousandths plus 25 and 600 thousandths. So I have 4, 5, 9. 5 plus 5 is 10. 7 plus 2 plus 1 is 10. And I have 200. And it looks like, 100. Looks like I have the correct answer. Alright, your last 2 examples. Hey, I'm going to add my 0 in here. 8 minus 0 is 8. Hey, I can't take 4 minus 9, so I need to borrow. Now I have 14 minus 9, which is 5. 1 minus 0 is 1. 9 minus 0 is 9. 6 minus 2 is 4. And then 1 minus nothing is 1. Okay, my last one. I'm adding here, so I have 4 plus 0 is 4. 8 plus 8 is 16. 8 plus 8 plus 1 is 17. And then 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. Alright, thanks for following along and taking notes. Hey, your next step, remember, is to go back and take the quiz on the adding and subtracting. Hey, this is just a quick check so I can see how you're doing. And then once you're done with that, go ahead and take your notes up to the sub, and they will give you your homework. Hey, your homework, remember, will be due on Thursday. Hey, don't forget, you have your test corrections due tomorrow. Hey, they should be done on a separate sheet of paper stapled to your test. Have a great rest of your day.